Hello, everybody. What's going on? This is your boy Leon LeGray back with episode 196. Well, I'm sure everyone has heard about the news already to this point with Musk rebranding from Twitter to X and what this is all about. And to me, there is a lot more happening that a lot don't know. And very honestly, though, rebranding it to X is, I don't know, just complete 180. And Twitter was just a name that I grew up with, and I've had Twitter since it 1 year before it came out. So I was a long time Twitter user, and I've got to say though, not a big fan of the rebranding. And while I will say that the guy is smart and everything, he comes up very immature for a CEO. And to me, the fanboyism, in the other hand, the way I see it, is a cult, absolute cult. So in today's episode, we're gonna talk about the whole cult of Musk. Why I see is Tesla and his companies are gonna go sideways, and I do not predict that this will end really well. And also, everyone, before we continue into today's episode, I want to just introduce myself real quick. That my name is Leon LeGray, or you can just call me by Leon for short. I talk about things that goes on in the computing world. I talk about internet culture, and today in the world of society and what's been going on. So, in today's episode, we're talking about Tesla related topic and with Elon. And to me, it has to be talked about extensively about this because it's on my mind. I have to say, there's a lot more to this. I feel that there is a lot more to it. And where I can say with the rebranding with X will just only drive more people. But the good news is that with since I know a lot of people aren't a big fan of Musk right now and what they've done with Twitter recently, a lot of people have moved over, and we're gonna get into it in just a sec. But before we continue, let's get on to today's sponsor on today's show. And today's sponsor is going over to Zennies. Zennies is something I have been using for some time. Now, if you don't know what Zennies is all about, well, you should have by now since I've already announced Zennies many times on my show. And if you are a workaholic just like me, just remember, Zennies is very, very useful if you are going to go and work on your office space or your home office remotely, whatever that may be. As you guys know, keeping your eye health is very, very important. And that's one thing about keeping your eyes in check, especially from dangerous blue lights with the effects that put on you in the strain that puts on you for a very, very long time too. That's just one thing to remember. Zennies is one that helps. So if you go to zennies.com and purchase your prescription or your non-prescription, if you don't wear any prescription lenses like I do, just remember, if you click down the link down below, that way you can go ahead and click on it, purchase it, and you don't have to lose sight of what you have to go through each and every time. So check out Zennies. The link is in the description, and make sure to click on the offer down below. Now, next on the list, it is Scooch Cases. Now, even though I have used Scooch in the past, I'll love to use them again, and only because that their cases is pretty durable. I will say I love the Scooch cases, and that's just something I will use all the time if I ever purchase it again down the line. But just remember, Scooch is something that I love to use. So go and check out Scooch while you're at it, because we all use our phones all the time, and if you break it, then you have to end up purchasing extra for, I don't know, for Apple Genius, or having to spend a lot more on a brand new phone. But just remember, wherever phone you have, even if it's from Samsung or from Apple or whatever manufacturer, just remember something right there too. Protecting your phone is a must since we all carry it around all the time. So what are you waiting for? Check out Scooch down in the description. And last and not least, it is ExpressVPN. So I'm sure you guys heard me talk about ExpressVPN all the time. So ExpressVPN is something I've used in the past before, and something I will use again if I ever go out travel or go out somewhere for private uses. Because as you guys know, using the internet publicly is not safe, and I don't recommend it if you're going out in a cafe somewhere or just any public Wi-Fi in general too. So just remember something right there too. If you are going to browse privately, using a VPN service like ExpressVPN is a must. Go ahead and check it out, expressvpn.com. So I'll have everything down in the description below. So let's get on to today's episode of 196. All right, guys. It's been a while since I've done an episode on the Leon LeGray podcast. Now, today is Saturday. I figured I'd do a quick recording before heading off to work, and I figured why not? Let's get this done, and let's get this out of the way. Okay, now, I wanted to go ahead and talk about what's been happening in basically with, I'm sure everyone has heard about, just been the feud between Twitter, formerly Twitter now it's called X, and I'm sure with Meta, as everyone has heard of what's been happening. Now, one thing I can say is that it's not looking too well with the Elon Musk camp. The Musk camp is just driving its way in a very deep hole. And to me, even though there are some things I liked about Elon in the past, but for me personally though, I think he's gone to the point where he has this cult of personality type where it all comes down to with Elon. I just don't like it one bit. It's just drives someone like me away, especially anyone that's trying to I don't know, like even though I do respect that what he's trying to do with the Tesla brand, and one good thing about Elon is that at least he's created jobs where he's got Tesla factories where it's giving people jobs, and I think it's good. I really do think so. But you have to look at the other hand with that plays his cards. His cards is not that great, and this is something I've talked about this even on a personal level with a roomie that had a Tesla, but then it's crashed. But anyways, that's not here or there. But one thing I can say about the whole Tesla brand is, look, it's coming down to his own persona, especially where everyone is looking at him as a pretty much a big pedestal. Hey, and this is just me, but if you look at it this way, and I'm sure there's gonna be listeners that are gonna kind of look down on this and say, well, what are you talking about? What are you saying that he is such a big cult personality? First of all, he is, and I love to debate this with anybody right there too. And believe me, he is. And right now, if you look at it right here, well, at this point, he's now a big face, a big brand face of Twitter now. Well, now rebranded as X now. And then you got him as the guy that does Tesla, SpaceX, and several other companies. And to me, I'm gonna get into the whole rebranding of Twitter in a moment right there too. But this is one thing I can tell you about Twitter. Well, Twitter has had a long history, a very long history, over a decade of history, and now having to be rebranded as X, which is ugh. Anyways, And to me, I think a lot of people, I think early on when he got so noticed early on in the Twitter world, Twitter sphere, whatever you call it too. And I remember I had someone, one of my roommates, talked about Twitter, not Twitter, but Tesla early on. And one thing I think I almost here's how I feel about this. And way I see him, especially with someone that owns like a big company like Tesla and SpaceX. And to me, I have definitely a big issue when it comes to, especially with the car electronics, the EVs you call it. Look, they are good at certain things, but again, it gets way too expensive if you add the cost to it each year, especially when you're doing tag renewals. It's don't get me wrong if you're doing like long commutes back and forth, but again, it's not worth it if you're just holding that car, and at some point you're gonna have to pay for the car. It's a cost. Nothing. There's no way you're just gonna pay the whole thing and expect to I don't know, hold it for a very long time. And imagine what will happen if you get in a car wreck. Anyways, just like my roommate. No, anyways, no putting him down on that. But still, regardless, I do think it's really bad. Especially when people don't think the ramifications of, I mean, not just owning a car, but you gotta look at the pluses and the negatives, right? And to me, I'm more free to speak on this because, for one, I will say that I don't care about the whole Tesla brand. I really don't. And a lot of people do. Now, even though people were gonna dismiss the whole thing, and they're gonna look at it and say, oh, you shouldn't look at all the biases, what's going on in the media outlet too. Well, see, the thing about this is that this is not coming like mainstream media. We're talking about people that have had the personal experiences with the vehicle itself with Teslas. Now, I don't know about you. When it comes to purchasing a car for the first time, I feel that I would love to leave the dealership with the best quality built car at hand. And why would I ever buy something that is cheaply made? So you look at it right there. I think a lot of people are starting to understand that Tesla may not be the best brand. And there's going to be some car manufacturer out there. I don't even know if the Lucid Motors will take over its place. I really don't know if that's going to be within a year or two. Now, I do understand one thing is when you're coming to look at a vehicle, initially having to go over a car, you might want to find a car that is best suited. And I'll tell you, like, I've ridden the Tesla Model X. Now, I would say that I'm not a fan of the X model itself. I really don't. I really, really don't. I think it does get a bit of too much hype. One thing you can say about it is the X-wing, the gull wings, excuse me, the where it lifts us up in the air, and it's just like the DeLorean cars back when it was made back in the 80s, which I thought the Model X was pretty cool when it came out. But again, the wings itself is not a very new concept. It's cool, but it's just not for me, right? And I thought the Tesla Model S was good. Again, I wouldn't buy it personally 100% because, for one, from other personal experience I can see is when you buy the car, you have to realize that your insurance will go up because if it's an electrical car. And I don't care. I really don't care. If I have to bash it, I'll bash it. Like, to me, I'm not going to hold myself together. I mean, yeah, I'm sure a lot of the legions of Musk fans will strangle me for that. But it's even some of the people in YouTube land are recording their experiences, and they can see this is not well made, especially when you have the what do you call it, the side compartment where you keep your things in. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing to look at it this way. What the hell is that? You're expecting a highly built car, especially not just the glove department. Oh, I haven't gotten to the glove box, which I will get into in a moment. But the side compartment, where it's pretty much between the driver and the passenger seat on the left front. You have to understand that's embarrassing where you open the latch and it doesn't close properly. So it makes you wonder what the hell happened during manufacturing. That's where I don't understand. And this is the part about this cult. The cult of Musk has gone way too far, and especially when I say that, it has become a cult on its own, and I'm sure I almost describe this as when there was that the computer age between the 80s and the 90s of the cult of Apple, where everyone started to praise Jobs on so much, where it got too annoying. And and the fact of the matter is that you don't have that big cult of personality where it once was with Apple. A lot of people can see that they are looking elsewhere, especially not just going and jumping onto Windows camp. You're looking at the camp on with Linux as well. Now, I don't know how much better Linux has gone over the years, and I'm sure there is a good OS for Linux distribution that anybody can find. But anyways, that's how I describe the Cult of Musk compared to Apple for many years ago too. And I do think that this is going to be a big flop. And even though your name, the image of Tesla, oh, right, and I can't forget, even though you are making solar panels, that's true, and that will be probably a beneficiary. But besides, I will agree that we could use like alternative energy instead of just the big old electric companies. I do think that there's a good reason to have alternatives. There are good things about it too. Remember, the ones that are going to purchase for the electric panels are the ones with big money. I'm sure ones with old money and new money investing in this too. Now, if you don't got the money to purchase solar panels, I just think it's just waste. It's just a big waste to put money that you don't have, and I don't know if it's going to even the prices of solar panels are going to drop within a few years, because it's still going to add up if you look at it this way too, because the cost of it and also having to install the solar panels, of course there's going to be an extra cost if you don't know how to install it yourself. Then you kind of have to find somebody that knows how to, like a electrician, right? That's one other thing I want to add is if you're going to make that purchase with a solar panel, you might as well save a lot and put it in. Though I'm not sure how many people are going to buy the solar panels and how much money they're actually saving, but we'll see over time. I do think going back into the car thing and the Tesla thing for a little bit too, on the card side. The card side, however, it's while I think there are going to be some good cars over the years, and again, you have to look at the ups and downs between electric cars and gas cars. And even though people say, well, there's a bunch of people out there on YouTube on the media that are trying to attack Tesla for no reason. Well, I'm not sure about that too, because at some point, that whole mentality with having to hold a person all at once is going to be deeming, especially how people look at one person, and their whole persona is going to collapse. And I see that especially with Twitter. Twitter, well, now known as X, and I don't even think that the X brand would be as successful. I always thought that Twitter was just fine of its own. Let's be real. Twitter, there was no issue with the branding of Twitter. I just think that he just created X because of his own stupidity. Let's just put it this way. Plain and simple. There's just no reason for the switch at all. And And to me, I was trying to find good reasons why he made the switch that he did. And to me, the whole rebranding of X is just completely bonkers. And I think a lot of people don't know this. Especially, he tried to create a website called X many years ago and rename PayPal, but the people in the top actually refused the X name. And I think in good reasons, they've had a reason not to, and that's why he got kicked out. Personally, and it's like, what's his his issue with X? Why change it to X all of a sudden? He has such an exception, or to change something like that, or obsession, or X obsession on having to name it X. What's the deal with the name? Why name something with X? It entirely makes no sense. Now, if we had a good reason to change something, I don't know. Now, I know there's a lot of people that have talked about it since last couple days, and even on The Verge it says X.com now redirects to Twitter.com following a tweet from Twitter owner Elon Musk today, and an interim X logo will soon replace the Twitter bird logo. Leading up to the change, Musk spent a lot of time tweeting about it. Around 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time last night, he started tweeting and did so for hours about Twitter rebrand to X, and one letter name he used repeatedly in company and product names forever. He started with a tweet saying, "Soon we shall bid adieu to the Twitter brand," and gradually all the birds followed by the second tweet, adding, "If a good enough X logo is posted tonight, it will make go live worldwide tomorrow." Musk then, over the next several hours, gestured at the change in between other posts and replies, tweeting things like Deus Ex, or replying to other users talking about it. At one point, he joined a Twitter space sessions called "No One Talk Until We Summon Elon Musk," and sat silently for almost an hour before unmuting and confirming he would change Twitter's logo tomorrow, adding, "We're cutting the Twitter logo from the building with blowtorches." This is really stupid. I think the whole thing is absolutely unnecessary. Now, he did try, like I've said before, he did try to use this with PayPal years ago, but thank God the people back in the 90s had brains to say no. It's like, if you changed the brand of PayPal to X, it's like, what does X even mean? Does it mean X marked the spot? Does it mean Excelsior? Or does it mean, I don't know. I mean, the guy is really fucking stupid. And that's where I have an issue with, especially his character. Don't get me wrong. Probably he's probably a smart businessman, in some merit, but really he's just a stupid individual. If you look at it this way, he's not that bright as what everyone thinks. And if you look at it too, but people will eat off anything that he says online and do that because they are so fascinated to his character and always gonna just jump on what a new thing that comes out of his mind, which very much so. There's no way a guy that's very autistic can go out and say, "Hey, he can do all this and get little sleep." That's absolutely bullshit. If you look at it this way too, he's doesn't have the brains to manage all 6 or 7 companies, whatever, how many companies he has. And I don't even think he's an actual billionaire. Even though he may have bought Twitter, for $44 billion dollars. But look at this way too. I don't think it's the guy is really bright 100%. He's may have good ideas here and there, but maybe he's not the brightest. What people will say, not the brightest. And just me, but anything that he'll come out, anything about the tech world, or anything that he criticizes. Look, I'm probably sure that Twitter has had plenty of issues. Not nothing new about this too. We all get it. I mean, early on, I did kind of praise that he would do something about the issues with Twitter, the bias with the shadow banning, which I personally did agree with that. But again, I am not a fan of what's been happening lately. It's not something that I care for him right now. And and to me, I never jumped into the bandwagon at the very beginning. It's just not for me and say, oh, I don't really care um, to be part of this now. Because why? I will tell you, I really do not care out the whole Tesla company or follow into it because one, I'm not into cars, and I'm just not into the following of his own ego. Because the thing is, though, everyone has an ego. Don't get me wrong. His ego is what just sets me off plenty. Right there too. It's like, how do you describe him? How do you describe this person? And way I can look at it too is he doesn't have that maturity to be a CEO. Like, even though there are some things he's joked around in the past, I think some of the things were funny. But look at this way too. I mean, as a CEO, I get that he has so much things in mind. You got to take a joke here and there. Look, I'm sure that a lot of people, even especially like I, can see that too. This is something I don't buy. And I know early on he wanted to try making Twitter. I mean, the biggest purchase why he ended up buying Twitter was, for one, is because he wanted to make Twitter pretty much a decentralized, have it like 3.0, welcoming Twitter to the world of decentralized web. That's all it comes down to. It's just like he wants that power coming down. Look, and especially whatever you guys want to say about other guys like Dorsey, even though I didn't agree what Dorsey did with how he ran Twitter. But look, right now I don't like more so what Elon has done with Twitter. I think Twitter is an absolute mess, and the problem is that whoever does take control next after Musk, I don't think anybody would ever follow in on making it into this future model. Because again, the Web 3.0 decentralization, I think it's important. Again, I don't even think Elon will ever follow through everything that what he says he will do. I think it's really off. Just to be clear, I just think he's quite off with a lot of things. Let's be 100% real. I just don't care about him because of his ego is very much spiraling. Woohoo, if you know what I mean. And he says a lot of stupid shit when everything that I read over, it's just not something I would take seriously, because you're a freaking CEO of the biggest website in the world called Twitter, now rebranding to X. For some reason, you just want to call it that. It's like, why? And there's a lot of people that are saying, I might as well just jump into trends if this continues on. I mean, I know I did sign up for Twitter Blue, and I do have that check mark next to me. I'm just not thrilled after the whole name change from Twitter to X after all this time. And I mean, a lot of people call it, hey, you're just upset because of him. Well, I'm not just upset because of him. I just don't care for his character. I care for his cult of following. And a lot of people will follow up and eat it all that. That's how it comes down to too. And maybe that's how it is. It's just like, man, people will eat everything that one person says. And it's like, when I will tell you an example and how I feel about this example. Like many years ago, when Apple's CEO, former CEO, Steve Jobs, rest in peace to him too. Well, I can say that yes, people hated Jobs because of his character, how rough of a CEO he is. But at least one thing you could say about him is that he took himself very seriously about how he did things in Apple, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, Apple did have a rebranding years ago from Apple, uh, I believe it was Apple Electronics to Apple Computers. It was like a small rebranding, but it was not a major rebranding at all. I mean, they've had to change it for several reasons, and that reason was that they weren't just making computers anymore. Too, they were now to a point that they were making from being a computer company to Apple Computer Incorporate. Um, and that's one of the things a lot of people didn't notice with Apple, because they did have rebranding. Actually, 1976, Apple Computer Company, from that point, 1977, to Apple Computer Incorporate, and then the last one, I think they just call it Apple Corporate. That's it. That was like the major rebranding. That was all the way back in 2007. But this rebranding was, I'd say, unnecessary. And even though there are people that may have looked at Jack Dorsey as the face of Twitter for many years ago, but now he's out because not everybody likes him. Likes him even still to this day. And to me personally, I don't, because again, he has a bias that I don't really care for. Even if what he said in Joe Rogan's show, what he said may have been true, I'm not sure I would buy 100% of that too. Again, does it make Jack Dorsey a pretty bad person? No, not at all. And look, he's a guy that holds many companies as well. I mean, he does Square. He has the Cash App. He has to manage, and then that's one thing as I can see with Dorsey is he's done plenty of things that I can say totally. I can say some things I can agree with, but not everything. Not with the whole Twitter thing that he did and ruined Twitter to the ground. Almost, well, he almost did. But until Elon Musk showed up. But right now, Elon Musk is pretty much, I can say, a whole different kind of mess that I don't like about. And there again, a lot of people will praise him because what things he's done. But now it's like, where are we at this point? I don't know. It's very, very different. And I don't like where things have gotten to this point too. Now, like, then again, the Tesla brand is something that is now more liked, more favorably liked than the Apple, Microsoft, Amazon brand all combined right now too. See, that's something everyone is talking. To me, I don't care to talk about too much, only because it's just getting too much of the what's the word I'm trying to think of too? Clout, and that's the word. Yeah, just getting so much of the attention and clout that's getting into Tesla. I just don't like where the brand is going with Tesla. Even though he is the figurehead of it, it doesn't mean that he will be the perfect guy to fix everything up. You look at things, that's what's going on with Tesla. Look, the Tesla stocks, terrible. And I still think that it's not going to go well with Tesla. Tesla actually had a very good high during the COVID years. And during the time when coronavirus was a thing between 2020 and 2022, look, people were buying Tesla. It was being bought all the time. And also the stock prices for Tesla was up in the thousands. So, dude, oh my goodness. So you've had to look at it this way. The prices for Tesla was so good back during the COVID years. It was just unbelievably funny and how much people were buying Tesla stocks. But now you look at the prices on Tesla, and now as I'm reading, currently it's $253.86 USD. And what does that tell you? Why is it going down? Now, because of his persona. And if you're going to keep Tesla alive and well, you might as well keep it together at this point. Because very honestly, he's gotten to a point that he's gotten so much attention for the bad reasons, for one of the worst reasons as I could see, and a lot of it, and also a lot of the things that I think people like is that, hey, how much of a cost saving it is for electric. Oh, now let me tell you something. Having to spend money on electric is not a cost saver. It really is. It really isn't. If you look at it this way, as far as the insurance goes, right there. Now, this is the part that I am gonna say it. The electric car model. While it is cool that we have now potentially good electric cars now, but the model of the electric car model is a big scam. It really is. If you look at the model of the electric car, of how it's become this product of becoming eco-friendly to the environment. If you look at it this way, the car itself, it's not a a product of a product for energy efficient. It's not, and I think they've labeled this very, I don't know, way too much on having to label this as a green energy car, which it really isn't, because it does take energy still. If you look at it this way, it's not environmentally friendly. No, no, it's because at some point the energy must come somewhere. And yes, I understand that there are people who are going to say, well, it is much cleaner than gas. Well, yes, part of it is, but you still got to understand this is not like the car that may not hit it and hit it really nicely and then break it for a long time. The stocks are everything shows. The consumer will tell you that it is not something that people are going to get into Tesla because of this. It is really isn't. And to go over about the whole energy thing, because it's like this: when you close the gap from gasoline to electric, you're gonna end up opening another patch for another electrical problem. Because what happens if you stop gasoline and then open up a new hole on electrical issues? I mean, what happens if you focus everything on electric? You just can't do that. Everybody can just focus on electric cars, and the fact is that even there are some things to say about it, it is not the best. These are not the best cars to come out of this current generation. Right now, you'll see other cars that are EV cars that are going to start to come up with something that some other manufacturer hasn't come up. Like, I'll give you an instance. When my roommate had a crash recently, one thing that it was also bad enough is that, for one, he couldn't get stuff out of the glove box, or he couldn't open the switch to the front of the car. Now, I'm sure there are switches that you can get stuff in case if you had to get in case like the power didn't start up for any reason. And I think that's fine if you had that. But let's say like an emergency switch, if you don't make it obvious, or let's say if for some reason if the electricity isn't working, and the only way to open up the car, the front or the trunk of the car, is by voice command, and you have to have active electricity to do that. I mean, there's no emergency key, nothing like that at all. No physical key to do it. I mean, it's ridiculous. And that's why I wouldn't even buy those cars, because even though this isn't a first generation car. I'm probably sure it's like what, 9th or 10th generation. Anyways, I haven't keep up with the whole lineup with Tesla model cars. And this is where I am saying, even though they are creating their energy, they are making their billions of dollars trying to form new energy. Again, this is something I wouldn't count on and staying with one company, because I do think that a lot of people, investors, a lot of people are that are going over on electric cars, thinking that this is one of the best things to ever come, especially with better than Toyota, uh, better than Toyota, yeah, like I said, Toyota, Hyundai, GMC, whatsoever. Look, I'm sure that there's some guys and gals out there that are not a fan of Audi model cars. Look, say what you want to say, but I'm sure that the Audi company, or let's just say BMW, has made just as good, if not better, design looking cars than the current ones. At least they make things obvious, and there's an instruction manual to open a car. Let's say if you're getting into an accident in the car, then at least you can um, open up a switch. Let's say if you put something in the glove department or under or in the truck somewhere, at least you can get your stuff out instead of having to rely on electricity. You know, that's where I find it difficult for me to say maybe I will go ahead and get a car. Look, and I'm sure that people will make comparisons about, oh, electricity versus gas. There's more accidents with gas cars than electric cars. Now, that's that's one thing. I won't get into it in this episode. But looking at the car, the model of the Tesla, or the branding of Tesla is really fraud. Going over, because it is a very fraud system. Now, if they are trying to sell me something about how amazing electric cars is, I would not want to be bought into electric cars, knowing that the this is the mark of the future. No other company has thought about anything else, anything different than Tesla, which is absolutely horse crap. Of course, they will think about something different. I think that he is a fraud. Musk is a big fraud when it comes to it. Because the thing is, though, he hasn't thought about everything. Obviously not. This is something I do not care to go over and put this guy in a pedestal. I just don't. A lot of people will go on and say, this guy is the real deal. That's bullshit. That's no wonder why people ate everything what he says as gospel and then ate it like that too. I mean, of course, people will come up and with something different, something fresh that Musk hasn't thought of. And thing is, though, Musk isn't the one that founded Tesla in the very beginning. Yeah, it's actually two other guys that actually started Tesla. And this is very interesting because I'm going through other videos about other things about why people have hated Elon, but in good reason why. I'm not putting this to make him look down or whatever too. But the thing is, though, there's a lot of things that it's been pretty sketchy as far as the business side and what he is. And thing is, though, he had to work his way up to get his billions. Look, I'm sure that he's made his billions through other companies his past companies like Zip2, PayPal, and other ventures that he's done in the past. Again, he is not a genius. He really isn't. And look, I actually admired Jobs for what he did with Apple, and I still to this day I still think computers are the way to go. Computers are the way to go, not cars. I mean, cars still has a lot of work to do, and if he had wanted to, in my personal opinion, he could have added the solar panels on the cars where you don't have to plug in the cars. Even though, sure, it's a slow trickle charge, you can still add in that option where you can add the solar panels to it too, instead of having like a separate panel or a separate what do you call it, charger on it too, instead of having to plug it into the wall of your house or plug it up. Because now they could have added those options and maybe done that sooner. Again, hasn't done it, and why is it? Because again, it may be there's probably some regulations he has to follow up, whatever that may be. to me, that electric car model is quite of a scam, especially how they probably talk to public um, with confidence, especially how they talk to people and say, you know what, this is the way it is. And I know with the Tesla company, they're actually starting to do productions on the Cybertruck, and I know there's pre-orders that's been put down already. The the Cybertruck, I really don't know the numbers of the Cybertruck. I don't know how many pre-orders they put in, but I know for the fact that coming from a roommate that me and I talked about, and I haven't done the research, but there's been a lot of pre-orders with Cybertrucks. I think it's cool on him that there's gonna be more people that are gonna be open to electric trucks. I mean, that's nice, but the question is how reliable those electric trucks are going to be compared to fuel energy trucks. I mean, again, the world is still run by gasoline, and I understand there's high regulations, especially with I think the U.S. government are starting to look into getting everyone to adopt to electric vehicles. Where in this case, I don't even know how much people can afford to put into electric vehicles. I mean, they are still costly. Look at it this way too. I'm not able to afford an electric vehicle. I'm sure most of the population with that doesn't even have over 10K will be able to afford an electric vehicle because that is still expensive. And the gas cars, even though it is a car that still runs on gas, it's not, of course, not great because it's not even fuel efficient with most gasoline cars. I will not buy electric vehicles because, for one, the lithium battery, a lot of people are not talking about the lithium. And the lithium battery on it, like what happens if something goes wrong with the lithium and it explodes? Because anything can happen with batteries. Batteries, I'm sure, look, the flames in cars can be disruptive and they can go burst into flames. We all know what happens to gas powered cars. But if you look at the lithium, what happens then? What happens if the battery malfunctions or something, or a battery leak? Because that happens too. If you look on a battery, a simple AA battery, or any battery, batteries do corrode over time, and you're gonna at some point replace the battery. So, look at this the way too. Phone. This is why you see like phone batteries don't last forever. You can understand why, and that's why I would never own a electric car, because the fact that if you depend on electricity on your car, look what happens. It may not be efficient to stay around on an electric vehicle because of it too. And this is not like I'm reporting on fear mongering, but the electric car model will not last for Tesla. And I'm sure there's probably more and more fuel efficient cars will come out on the way, and there's going to be electric model cars that'll be what do you call it, fuel efficient. In fact, this is quite interesting. So Tesla's approach on the electricity, one thing about it is that they're very old school, old fashioned. Now, this is quite interesting with the CEO of Toyota. Though I have to say, I do like Toyotas. Toyotas have had a good reputation, but his approach is very different when it comes to EVs. He does believe in electric fuel efficient cars, but he said that what he said there was EVs are too overpriced, and it's all pretty much way too overhyped. And I actually happen to agree on what he said recently. And to me, I do not care for just a car running on solely on electricity, because anything can go wrong with electricity, and a lot of people don't seem to make the correlation on that too. And I'm sure people are going to attack me and say, "Well, look about the gas to energy cars. They can go burst into flames and so easily than electric." Oh, come on now. And look, what happens if you get into an accident on an EV? And first of all, my roommate just went and gone through an accident in an EV recently. When his bumper got hit, his front bumper, his electric car did not work again. It's like, how? It's supposed to be the most safest cars ever, and the fact is, the matter is that he got distracted from the morning sun rays. That's what made it worse. And plus, I don't know why he didn't have automation, the car automation. But again, I don't know why he didn't have that there to have it control automatically. That was simply questionable when I was told about the news. But thank God he's still alive, thankfully. But I do like where Toyota is going, especially with the approach, instead of just jumping into just EVs right off the bat. Because I do believe that Toyota will still continue to have a good future, and it's not like the end all be all for gas cars. Not what everyone is saying, but hey, you know what? I do believe that we will still have a good bright future with companies like that are still trying to wait and see approach instead of just jumping in what everyone is doing right off the bat. Because hey, who knows what other fuels are going to be really good for alternatives? Because I do think there's going to be a lot more alternative fuels coming down the road as more and more happens to be. So with that said, I will go ahead and put this podcast on a close, because I know it is quite of a short one, not anything over an hour, but I would love to go into another podcast going in comparison with gas versus EV, because I think that will be a very good topic to talk about on a segment. Anyways, guys, what do you guys think? Do you agree, disagree? Anyways, I am active on Good Pods, so if you want to make a comment on Good Pods, I am always active, and you can subscribe to me on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to me on. But with that said, thanks everyone for taking a listen on episode 196 of the Leon Great Podcast, The Cult of Musk. Anyways, take care everyone, talk to you later, bye.